I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're diving into the challenges of faith, perseverance, and staying true to the path of Christianity. We're talking about an amazing book. It is called Hang in There, Successfully Navigating the Christian Faith, and it's written by a terrific author. His name is Wes Brockway. In the book, he explores the struggles believers face as they drift from their first love of Christ, using the book of Hebrews as a powerful guide. If you've ever felt your faith waver, this is an insightful book that reminds us that we don't hold on to Christ. He holds on to us. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The link is below this interview. And be sure to download the Spotlight Network TV app, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Wes, thanks so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Great to be with you, Logan.
The book is powerful. It's an important book because I think throughout the course or the journeys of our lives, we sometimes do drift from our faith, particularly when we should be using faith to shield us most, which is during hard times. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Why do you think that people, when they most need Jesus, are more likely to turn their back against him?
I guess we fall back on primitive instincts of trying to handle problems ourselves, trying to answer that instead of calling on that higher power. We kind of forget and just revert back to what we're used to doing.
Yeah. And I think some people perhaps even get angry at times that God or Jesus let this happen in their lives. Why is my wife sick? Why is my child injured? They can't understand. They feel like they've led a good life. They've led a life filled with faith, of devotion, yet still bad things happen. And that's always been a mystery. Why do bad things happen to good people? How do you answer that question? Why do bad things happen to good people?
Well, bad things happen because there's evil in this world. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge that. They want to think that, I don't know, it's just an inert society, but we have evil, we have wrong on a spiritual level and on a human level. And that causes problems. It dates all the way back to Adam and Eve, where they fell in the garden and sin entered our lives. When that sin entered, that's when problems came. And it is natural and common to fault God for that. But that wasn't his plan from the very beginning. He created a perfect world, and we messed it up. And so we're facing consequences now. But he's there to see us through those if we will turn to him and trust in him.
Exactly. We strayed, he did not. In the book, you use the metaphor of a car journey to describe drifting away from faith. Talk to us a little bit about how that imagery connects to the spiritual life.
Well, I am a car buff. I have one that I've restored and I enjoy, so I enjoy driving. And so that was a natural connection for me. But I did see it when I started writing the book as taking a path, taking a road with multiple turns and curves and problems. And so I wanted to connect the themes of the book of Hebrews to those driving, and how ultimately, if we do not correct our course, we will end up crashing and having more and more trouble. So it was natural for me to use that metaphor in describing the book.
Yeah. Many believers struggle with doubts and what you might call spiritual fatigue. Tell us the type of encouragement your book, Hang in There, offers to those who are feeling distant from God.
What the book puts forth is that Jesus is capable. And it talks about that in the book. Hebrews was written to the Hebrew Christians. And so they used a lot of Old Testament analogy that Jesus was greater than Moses, their greatest prophet, greater than the priest, greater than the angels. And so since he is greater, since he is the creator, since he is God, he is capable to meet our needs and to take care of our problems as we rely on him, that he is capable.
Yeah, absolutely. The book of Hebrews is central to your message. Why do you think this particular book is so crucial for Christians today?
Because it's right where we live, and it's where we all reside. This is something mankind has faced over the years of turning away from God. God would do a great thing in their life, would provide for them, but then as time passes, and unfortunately, as we become prosperous, we tend to forget that we need him. And so then tragedy comes and we're not prepared. So this book is very necessary today as it was 2,000 years ago, because that is a typical path that we take of drifting away, of denying God, or like you said, of getting angry to where we then defy him and refuse to listen, but he's always there, ready to redeem, ready to help.
Talk to us a little bit more about the book of Hebrews for folks at home who are not acquainted with it. Could you give us a little overview?
Sure. The book of Hebrews was called that because it's written to the Hebrew Christians of the day. And they certainly faced a tremendous challenge because they had left the Jewish faith. So their Jewish brothers and sisters were unhappy with them and thought they were being blasphemous. And then the Christians of the day, the Gentile Christians, were suspicious of them having come from the Jewish. So they were kind of in a no man's land, or nobody wanted to call them. So they faced extra challenges. The book of Hebrews is written to them. We're not sure of the author. Some think Paul, some think Apollos. That doesn't really matter. The author ultimately is God, who gave the word, and he addressed the needs that they had and the needs that we have today by answering Jesus, who he is, and that he is capable.
In your book, you highlight that staying steadfast in faith is not about our own efforts, but Christ keeping us. How does that change the way that believers should approach their walk with God?
One of the things that can really help that is if we'll really understand what Jesus was teaching in John 14, 15, and 16, that when he left, he sent us the Holy Spirit to abide within us. And so every Christian has that element of God within themselves. And it strikes me that is one reason when Jesus said, I will never leave you nor forsake you, that's why, because he's in us. We have his wisdom, his power, his knowledge, all present within us, ever present, ready to help us, ready to strengthen us. And we just need to learn to rely on his strength instead of our own strength, knowledge, and wisdom.
What role does community play in keeping Christians from drifting, and how can churches better support those who are struggling?
The community of Christians can be very supportive. Of course, the world is pulling us away, telling us that there are different things we need to trust in, science, ourselves, humanism. But the church, as a body of Christ, can support each other as we understand we're all different, but we have similar problems. We go through these trials, and we can go through those together to where the church body, the congregation, is a support body offering prayer, which is very powerful. That's reaching out to God and offering direct encouragement and help. And so the church as a body supports and uplifts and helps us through those times in understanding, but also in offering concrete assistance.
Absolutely. Now, you've worked in ministry for years. Tell us a little bit about your background.
I come from a minister's background. My father was a minister, but I had not thought that I would go into ministry. But then in my 30s, God told me that that's what he wanted me to do. So I proceeded to get the education, and I've been working in the field of ministry for some 40 years now, pastored several churches, done other ministry jobs, minister of music, But it's all related to sharing the word of Christ with people and helping them know that he is their ever-present help in danger and in good times and bad. And it's given me the opportunity to work with a lot of wonderful Christian people that I've seen struggle and that have needed to be reassured that they can trust in God and follow him all the way.
Absolutely. Talk to us a little bit about your personal experiences and how they shaped your understanding of spiritual endurance.
The going through trials shapes endurance. The Bible talks about that we go through various trials, but they strengthen us. That perseverance comes through persistence. One of my favorite words in life is being resolute, not getting overly anxious, upset, angry, but just sticking to the course that we know is true. And in my life, I've gone through several challenges with health issues for myself, for my wife, for my children. And by staying resolute and trusting in God, he's seen us through all of those. Again, the rain falls on the just and the unjust. We've gone through troubles, but going through those troubles has reconfirmed to me that I can trust in him. He is sufficient, and he does want to help. He does want me to have a good, abundant life. And I've seen that over and over as we've gone through these various trials.
Yeah. You've mentioned you've had health challenges, your wife has had health challenges, your children. I guess you've lived long enough, all of us will have health challenges from one time or another, or at one time or another. What advice would you give to somebody who is struggling with their faith because they feel like they've been dealt a bad hand?
One is to use a phrase, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And in this case, the baby is God.
Yeah.
He is the supreme creator. He created this universe. He sustains it by the power of his word. He has seen thousands and millions of people through. You're not alone. The trials you're going through are common to man, and he will strengthen you and enable you to be able to see through that. The other thing is to find a group of supporting people to remind us of that, to encourage us. And so that's why it's really important to get into church, a good church that will give you that encouragement and support. So many people pull away from the church, and it's easy to complain about the church, to complain about the people, because we are people. We do fail. We are weak in some cases, but a good, strong church can support us and help us, and the good ones are out there. So don't throw God out because you're angry with him or you think he's being unfair. He doesn't want it to be that way for you. He wants you to have a good, happy life, and you can find a good support group. We humans are social creatures. We need a support group, whether it's losing weight, whether it's maintaining our faith, getting our finances in order. And so a church is very helpful there. But the bottom line is God is the answer to stay with him.
It's a tough time for the church. COVID was a huge 1-2 punch that people got, the okay from government to close the church. Keep the strip joints open in Vegas, but close the churches. It's COVID. Have the churches fully rebounded from that?
Not at all. Most churches I know are running about half of what they did before COVID. And the church hadn't really changed. The message is the same. The worship is the same in a good way. There is progression. We are addressing the needs, but people did get into a habit, and worship is a habit. Getting up on Sunday morning or another day of the week, whatever your day is, requires commitment and habit, and people got out of that. But we've also, COVID led us to be a more isolated society. COVID, smartphones, unfortunately, we don't interact the way we used to, and that draws us away from being part of a body. From what I understand, it's not just churches, but other groups, civic groups have trouble with getting membership because people are just so isolated and staying in their homes and aren't joining. And we're losing out on a vast resource there in churches and in other groups because of that. And COVID, yes, absolutely helped. And no, we've not recovered yet.
Yeah, even workplaces, it's almost impossible for employers to get employees to go to work. People fell out of the habit of getting together with other human beings very, very quickly, unfortunately.
We've lost a lot of a long-term mentality. If things don't happen quickly, then we want to chuck it and go to try to do something else. And we used to have more of a mentality of sticking to a problem and working it out. And just what it entails as far as earning and staying with a job, that it takes time to develop your reputation, your appreciation by showing what you can do. And so, yes, we've turned away from all of that, looking for a quick answer. And a lot of times the answers aren't quick. They
Yeah.
take delving. One of my favorite verses out of Proverbs is, "It is the glory of God to conceal a matter and the glory of a king to seek it out." He wants us to seek him, and that's where we found value. We know if we're handed everything on a silver platter easily, we don't appreciate it. But those things that we work for and strive for hold value to us and become a part of us very intrinsically, that doesn't go away.
Another challenge that the church and Christ's community faces today, I think more than ever before, is the media. Um, Absolute garbage put on television and in films, depravity, deviancy. It's unbelievable. Christians are made to be a punchline, made to be a joke. Jesus himself is made to be a punchline, is made to be a joke. If other religious figures were sullied like Jesus is, there'd be people burning, other people in the streets to protest. Why do you think Christianity is so under assault? And like I said, it's from the deviants in Hollywood. I mean, look at Harvey Feinstein. Look what he's accused of, and he's not alone. What do you make of this depravity in Hollywood that mocks Christianity?
Really, we are reaping what we've sowed. One thing you get possibly by being older, but from education, is you learn that this has been going on for a long time. There's been depravity. The Roman civilization was filled with depravity. And that's where we need to understand man has at its basic core, a sinful nature. We seek out sinful things that are wrong. We seek personal pleasure, lascivious type pleasure, and we seek to elevate ourselves over others instead of caring about others. This has been mankind forever. But we used to have a society where it was considered the right thing to go to church. If you weren't in church on Sunday morning, you were a heathen or a pagan. And people, now I tell my church that people out there today think if you're in church on Sunday morning, you're stupid for not sleeping in. It's a complete change in mentality. And yes, it's been fostered by all this anti-God rhetoric. And seeking through pleasure is what it boils down to, and it appeals to us. The path of God is a journey, it is a growth, but he is taking us to a supreme ending that we cannot match within ourselves and will never get. And so he has taken this long-term eternal approach, whereas we're looking day to day as to what's going to give us pleasure today, make life easy today.
Yeah, absolutely. Shame has been put out of style. Nothing is shameful anymore. And there should be some shame in this world. There is shameful behavior. And I don't think you're being judgmental, but I think it is okay to have judgments about people and things and ideas. I feel the political scene today has vilified Christianity. I feel there's many progressives on the left who say if you are pro-marriage, heterosexual marriage, if you are anti-abortion, well, you're an extremist. They have lumped Christianity into this extreme right category that they say are basically terrorists. And that's not an exaggeration. That's the God's honest truth.
We basically it boils down to because we're telling them their lifestyle is wrong, and
Yeah.
none of us like to hear that we're wrong, but we do need that. And we do have a misunderstanding about judgment. We're not supposed to be condemning of a person. We don't have the position to say they're not worthy of salvation, redemption, or eternal life. That's God's and God's alone. But we are to judge right and wrong, and we're stupid to think we shouldn't be able to call out what is wrong and to expect people to change to the right. But that does go against us personally, and we Christians too much have bought into that wokeness of not saying that's a wrong behavior. I used to try to tell my children, you're not stupid, but you did something stupid.
Yeah.
And we can say that to people. You're not an evil, awful person, but you're not doing things the right way. There is a right way to do things. If we're going to be in sports, we have a coach that tells us how to dribble the ball, how to pass a football, these kind of things, because there's a right way to be effective. And it's the same thing in the Christian life and in our life in general. There is a way to treat people. There is a way to have peace, but we need to learn that and practice it. But again, I think it goes against our basic tenet of that's not taking care of me, and I got to watch out for number one, is what we've heard over all these years instead of listening to number one.
Exactly. Exactly. Not being judgmental doesn't mean you can't have opinions, doesn't mean you don't know right from wrong. And there's certainly a lot of wrong that is being perpetrated on the world today in the guise of wokeness. Let's talk about spreading your message. You've produced radio programs, podcasts, a YouTube channel. You're trying to reach the masses through a digital means, right?
That's right. Yeah. I am a technological person. I do enjoy all of that. And so that bends to that, but it is with the desire to get the word out. And some churches are stopping to doing the live streaming. They're afraid that it's keeping people from church. But we live stream every Sunday, and I've got people around the world, Kenya, others that are watching. I've been contacted by a pastor in Pakistan. There are people around our world wanting to proclaim Jesus Christ. And so using this medium, like your TV show here, is a way to get that word out. That's where people are going today. Again, I've got a lot of seniors in my church, and I try to remind them, if a person is under 50 years old, let's say, the first place they look is to the internet to see what a church is about, what a person is about. That's where we've got to go to. And so we need to get that word out. And yes, we need to use every aspect. So I've tried to incorporate in writing a book and doing the live stream and doing a podcast and making that available. And people are picking it up and paying attention to that. So I pray it's God's word that's important. And he says his word will not return unto him void. And so I believe that as they listen, that God will use that to help them see what they need to see, whatever it is they're facing.
Exactly. And it's great that there's a digital recording of your sermons out there, of your advice out there, of your discussions out there. I know you work a lot of hours are put into preparing your sermon for Sunday, and to spread it among the flock, among the congregation is great. but to be able to reach the masses as well, I think is wonderful for sure. Before we leave you today, what do you hope readers take away from your book?
That assurance that, yes, life is tough. There are many turns in the road that we face, but there is one who will sustain them through all of that. And that is Jehovah God, the one who created this universe, the one who created them, who formed them wonderfully and fearfully. He has their best interest in heart. We don't understand what he does many times, most of the time, but we can trust that he is a good father looking out for us. And so I would hope my book would help them to stick to that truth, even through the hard times, and not drift away, but stay true to the faith, because the faith will see them through.
The wonderful and important message, and it is reiterated, of course, in Wes's powerful book. It is called Hang in There, Successfully Navigating the Christian Faith. In the book, the author explores the struggles believers face as they drift from their first love of Christ, using the book of Hebrews as a powerful guide. If you've ever felt your faith waver, this insightful book reminds us that we don't hold on to Christ. He holds on to us. It's an important message. It's a beautiful book. It is certainly faith affirming. Wes, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
I appreciate your time, sir. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.